Hey, hi Mandhir.
Hey Puneet,
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So good to see you. I know a
Same
long
here.
time.
It's
And
been a while.
yeah. In fact, and thank you so much for actually agreeing to this. And I'm so excited to host you here today on this another exciting episode of IT Talks.
Same here. Thanks for reaching out. And I think this is a very interesting initiative you have taken. And kudos to that. Look forward to our discussion today.
Great. Same here this side. So let's get started. So maybe for our viewers and folks, let's start with introduction. So maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Sure, Puneet. So, hi everyone. I am Mandhir. I'm currently working as a head of competitive analysis for Expedia, where we look at various ways to assess our position in this ever-changing world. Specifically, if we talk about travel world with pandemic and all the recent happenings, there is a lot of scrutiny going on. So the idea is to how we can stay competitive in this dynamic world, and it involves multidisciplinary functions which revolves around product strategy and how we can become better for our customers in this environment. Prior to that, I have worked with Accenture as a consultant, almost in an overlapping role, where we look at digital solutions for our clients and how we can optimize their digital presence. So all in all, it's been over 10 years journey in the corporate world, and enjoying every bit of it.
Wow. That does sound interesting. And in fact, so me and Mandir, we used to be ex-colleagues, and we used to in fact run quite a few initiatives at Expedia. And and interesting, so I think it's such an interesting field, and this competitive analysis. And you are an expert in this field. So I'd like to, can you tell us more about your role and actually what prompted you to actually pursue this career?
So unlike today's time where we have a lot of information, we have a lot of there are now formal courses being launched around this particular discipline. There's one in MIT Noida, and I suppose that was first within India.
Okay.
But if I talk about almost a decade back, where nothing was formal, you have to scrape through the internet, get the resources, reach out to different folks to understand what's happening. And at that point, I started in this discipline. And the idea was very small, where we just want to assess how we are doing against competitor, considering every minute dynamics are changing. And when we talk about digital platforms, there's so much of data, there's so much of customer footprints, and we are going to see a lot of changes happening. And definitely nobody wants to get behind in the world where customer can leave your platform in a single click. So that triggers the idea of this competitive analysis. And unlike the past, where we talk about, we associate this field with just looking what our competitors are doing, right now it's much more than that. It is consists of intelligence, which is how we can stay relevant to our customers, to our own products and shareholders when we talk about competitive intelligence. So it's way more than just gathering information about competitors, and how we can make best use of it. So from there, and if I talk specifically about my journey, it started in Accenture almost 10 years back. And there was no formal name of this particular field. We used to call ourselves as digital consultant when we first started. And we worked on different industries across different clients. And over there, I get to know more about different corporate settings in which how competitive assessment could work. And when we look at the ROI coming of it, it makes perfect sense of getting further into this field. And then the other thing, as we move progress into this particular field, I moved to Expedia, and over here I got a chance to work with different disciplines. And the best part about this role is that you don't have to work on single page or single product or single brand. You get to see whole lot of competitive mix, and it involves even the emerging players. So that way is, it's a very non-monotonous job which you get to do, and you have multi-discipline. Sometimes you are talking to products, sometimes strategy. So that ways you are getting equipped to all different phases of business world.
Wow. So, so that does sound very interesting, so in fact, so that's what I thought, that's why I thought let us have, an episode around this, because it's such an important field in current time, in which, competitors are evolving and there is cutthroat competition, you take any industry right now. So it is such an important thing for each and every organization, which brings to me to the next question, so which competitive intelligence methods or techniques, do you think that provide most ROI, especially to medium-sized organizations?
Yeah. And when we talk about competitive methods, intelligence solutions, so basically tracking competitor growth, tracking their partnerships, price rates, which is available publicly on their website, then how their product develop, or what are their technological advancements in terms of the tech stack they are using. So all these things are worthwhile. They won't cost you much, and there can be lot many things which we can do as a group without costing much money. But the idea is that how we are going to use that intelligence. And when we talk about cost, so instead of talking about the money or the resources, when we talk about expending them instead of budget, the major cost when we do this sort of intelligence comes in form of time. So time is the
Right.
biggest investment which needs to be done, and it's the biggest cost when doing CI. And unfortunately, I've seen most of organizations aren't particularly interested in investing time in CI, and usually because they already think they understand who they compete with and on what basis. But when we talk about this further analysis, we are not talking about direct competitors. We are talking about share of wallet competitors. So for instance, if we talk about books, so we are not talking about two competing publishing houses. We are talking about likes of Netflix, Amazon, etc., which take away your time and money of your customers.
Interesting.
So that ways, the most cost conducive things are time and how we evaluate, how we assess things. And once we identify the importance needs basis on our org size, these are certain things: identifying tech stack, looking at the partnerships, doing simple RSS feed of our competitors, pricing analysis, go to market strategies. So these are everything which can be done without spending a dime.
Wow. So that I think gives much good insights into, especially for mid-sized organization. Let me give you a use case. So can you let me know, like, what are some low to no cost digital solutions to actually address the information overload in competitive intelligence? As there are there are important use tools to reduce time spent gathering information, but stakeholders aren't always ready to actually open their checkbook. They are not ready to spend much. So what are those low cost solutions?
Yeah, that's right on the problem you have with the nail, considering especially when we talk about post pandemic era, not everyone is willing to open their
Absolutely.
purses. And so I would first say that it depends on what type of intelligence is relevant to the organization, team, or particular project. And because information overload occurs when we don't know what we are looking for
Correct.
or aren't sure where to get started. So for instance, are we looking to get a general overview of the industry or consumer insights, or we are talking about certain specific recent launches of our competitors, or are we interested in M&A activity? So depends what we want to do. Should be a right or should be the primary start when we talk about competitive intelligence. And data is only useful as far as you can analyze it and act on it.
Hmm.
So start by carefully narrowing your focus and building a view of what's actually actionable for the organization. And do you really need to track everything there is to available across 20 different competitors if you have, or do you want to focus on certain particular areas of key competitors? So that I would say is the first step when we talk about making a cost effective competitive intelligence research. And then once you have your set of questions, your key areas, then you can do a basic tool assessment like use of Google Alerts. You can check web page content changes happening on the competitors or the sites you want to track, and for which you can use certain tools like Visual Ping, which is very nominal, and Vashat. Also, you can look at some of the digital advertisement being done, and then what are certain industry reports. If your org is already aligned to one of the functional expertise or different consultancies. You can use that definitely. Then again, another public, easy to available resource could be PR being done by our competitors,
Mhm.
how they are
Right.
doing it, how they are launching products, and how they are strategizing that product against the customer's viewpoint. So overall, the idea is that if you have the right set of questions, even basic tools can be very powerful and productive. And as you start to see what competitors or which competitors are growing faster, you pose certain hypotheses around them. You pose about some of the initial assessment around their growth assessment, and you could ask new question about what is happening here, and then use those new questions to narrow your research further and use relevant tools. So even in the, if we talk about the complex industries or multi-dimensional corporations where we have different brands or different set of product lines, so there also usually there are certain competitors that matter more than almost all the others. So specifically, if you are a mid-size organization, it makes sense to first narrow down your choices. You don't want to track everything. It's total waste of time, information overload, and expenditure, which you might not want.
Right.
So assess major player by their key resources, capabilities, then zoomed in those targeted researches with more detailed tools. And you can always build from the freely available public sources, though they will not give you the qualitative exact information, but they will give you a direction where to move on. And then from there, you can expand and use certain niche tools.
Wow. So I think you have, talked about very, you have, I think, given lot of data points, for the companies to actually, if a company, maybe a startup, who are actually going to, enter a field, so this kind of analysis can definitely help them. Now, so we have talked about, how companies can leverage these kind of tools and technologies and data that they have. Now, let us talk about, if a person, any person who is keen to actually start a career in this discipline. So can you give some advice for all the people who also want to enter this field?
I think the key to good intelligence is asking great questions. So spend much of your time determining the key questions to ask to your stakeholders, to your product owners, and the rough framework which anyone can use in asking meaningful questions could be start from the planning phase. So you could check what do the stakeholders need to know and to solve the problem. What's exactly is the problem, what's the decision maker trying to accomplish over here. So get into their shoes and try to empathize the situation from their point of view when you are planning a particular project or you are just getting started for your competitive research. Once you plan, then in terms of asking specific questions, don't go with just no questions. Don't make them closed ended, make it open ended. Also, when summarizing these questions, just assess whether a non-expert could understand the question as well. Because when you present these sort of researches to the leadership team, then at that moment, they might not be fully aware of the technicalities of or the research methodologies. So instead of going big, deep, or going geeky about your solutions, you have to be considerate whether that they are coming from a leadership point of view and might not be expert in that domain. And then the other questions, when you look from them while framing them, see that do these questions make the decision makers needs, which you have already assessed in the planning phase. And once you do that, will you be able to answer these questions legally and ethically? Because this function, competitive intelligence, could easily go into the gray area. And I have seen a lot of teams, a lot of people going into the slightly gray areas to gather the data, which is I would not recommend at all. So when you are picking up the questions, just assess them whether it's something publicly available, which you can utilize and from where you can pick your research off. And then comes identifying the characteristics. So sort of create a characteristic checklist where that covers what you need to answer the question. And you can reuse this checklist time and again for your different projects. So characteristics could be in terms of leadership. What does the leadership looks like of the competitors or the players you want to assess? Then what are their recent recruits, where their money is going, what are their marketing, technology, or pricing, product benefits look like? So all there is going to be a simple checklist And whenever you are assessing or whenever you are asking a questions or proposing a solutions, just do a simple checklist of these works. That will definitely save ton of your time, give you a structured approach when reaching to your stakeholders. And then in the end, just define your needs. So it could be very simple three statement work you can do, where you say that this is the objective, this is how our mission looks like, and this is how we are going to propose solution. So simple three-liner could give a wide view to the stakeholders and people who are outside of your domain as well.
Great. I think you have given quite a lot, in terms of what a newbie or a novice in the field starting could actually utilize these skills and really do. So, are there what are the relevant job roles that one could look in this kind of field? And I think since it's an emerging field, there will be a lot of opportunity going forward.
Right, definitely. And so as we discussed earlier, I was mentioning there are now definite like full degree courses associated to this discipline, and there are obviously there are many private courses available which you can take on to. But specifically talking about the role or the brand where you can head into this discipline is right from the doing the analysis, basic analysis, you could expand multifold, and that's the beauty of this role. I have seen people working on my team after 3-4 years of experience could move into product management, because this role very well overlaps with the product strategy. Some of them moved into the strategy field. So these are options for the folks who want to expand and venture into different disciplines. But someone who is keen on going further into this field, then the option could be again changing your verticals over the time. So that will give you a perspective from business, from different point of businesses. And after a certain time, you will start feeling yourself like an angel investor, because you must have looked so many brands, so many businesses
Absolutely.
from different angles. You might be think of yourself as investing in some of those things. So again, the scope is sort of a T-shaped, where you could expand to different disciplines after gaining 4 or 5 years of experience, or you could go further deep and become a niche researcher in this field.
Nice, certainly sounds like a great avenue for everyone to really explore into. Now, coming to your personal side, Mandi. So, so I've known you personally for over the years, and you are a multi-talented person. So you're a blogger, then you're a public speaker. Interestingly, I also found something on your profile that says, you're a board game developer as well. So, care to shed some light over same?
Yeah, this was a fun incident happened a couple of years ago. So we were sort of a group. We were learning enthusiasts, and we just connected across the globe. And there was one particular person. She was based out of Romania, and she started. She was more on a teaching and education department related, but she wanted to do something on the child side or kids side, where our intent was to build certain games which could help both parents and kids learn parenting in a fun way. So from there, our journey started. I just started inquiring, and as I was mentioning, asking great question could be not just a forte for competitive intelligence. It could be a real key in any discipline of life. So I just got curious. I started asking questions to her, and from there, one thing led to another, and then it intrigued my interest in the board game development. So from there on, I just purchased ton of games, started playing them, which took my time from a digital world to the actual world. That was good experiment we did. And
Nice.
then off late, I have started developing them, which definitely takes a lot of creativity, not just on the product design side, but also defining the rules. You have to make it easy enough that people come to them day after day. At the same time, you have to make them challenging enough that they might not get bored too soon. So finding the right mixture definitely requires a brain work. So that further intrigued my interest. So right now I'm working with certain developer based out of Delhi, and we play board games on and off whenever the time permits. And at the same time, we discuss across globe how we could build certain tabletop games.
Wow, absolutely. So looking forward, maybe, the things have started to improve. Maybe I'm looking, forward towards meeting in person with you and, playing, just having those, coffee over sessions, playing a simple board game for sure.
Definitely, definitely. It will bring back nostalgias of 90s or 2000s.
Absolutely. Who Great. So which brings to the last question for our talk, maybe, and most interesting one out of all of these. So, what's your favorite book, and, if you can tell us why?
Yeah. And I found this interesting question, Puneet, because it is like similarly asking who is your best player in the current Indian cricket team. And
Absolutely.
depending on the pitch, weather conditions, it keeps on changing. Similarly, when we talk about the favorite book, depending on where you are in your life journey, what you want to learn, what skills you want to develop, it again keeps on changing.
Right.
And I feel like you can't read the same book twice because both either conditions change or the book changed by that time. So on the same note, I think my recent read, which is Signal and Noise by Nate Silver, I found it quite interesting. There are a couple of reasons to it. One, it goes way beyond the regular. So talking about the book first, it is more on the predictive analysis. So
Mhm.
the author take turns going across different industry, talks about how the predictive assessment could be done. And believe me, it's not at all geeky, statistics, maths, nothing at all. It's
Oh,
full of stories. And these stories will teach you like how we fall easily under different biases. And when we talk about these biases, we see things from a narrow-minded vision only. And we have particular idea which is shortcome by our biases, and we see things from the same lens. So this book taught about how the experts, and it's not just the common people who are falling under this policy. It's even the experts, like the what we have seen in 2008 crisis of the Lehman Brothers and other US banks.
mhm.
Similarly, there was tech crisis in 2000. So all of them were human conditioned crisis, and the flaw was not able to predict them, and it was easy to predict them, but we conveniently ignore them. And then this book trigger into the baseball, sports, gambling, all different facets of things. But the idea is that interconnected. One thing which I liked about this book is the interconnectivity to the day-to-day life, how we can do a simple probability assessment of our choices. It could help us do the decision making in a smarter way, where we reap on benefits without losing much. So it definitely taught me a lot when we do a assessment of any situation, personal or professional, in terms of risk assessment. And we know that today, the in past couple of years, it's all about the risk uncertainty in the environment. So definitely, it's one read, irrespective of discipline, everyone could enjoy.
Sounds like an interesting read for sure. Thank you so much for actually sharing this with us. So I'm personally, looking forward to actually reading this book. Great,
Thanks.
Mandir. So I think it has been, a great evening with you, and I think we discussed quite a lot. We touched on such important points. Thank you so much for taking out time today.
No worries. Thanks, Puneet. And I know it's like we ran out of time, and it's quite a lot of things we touched upon. And thanks for reaching out. It was lovely having a discussion with you.
Great, same here. So looking forward to meeting you in person for sure.
Same here. Look forward to that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching our video. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such insightful sessions. We will be regularly uploading on our channel every Sunday, so stay tuned and like our other social media handles as well. The links of the same will be mentioned in the description box below. Bye bye.